Okay. Today is Saturday, April 18, 2015. Okay, and it is 5:51 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. This is a introduction or explanation, the story behind the 2019 Sounds of Silence Passion Play Cultural Apology for War. Um, um, it's a passion play. It's called a passion play because in Germany, during the time of the bubonic plague, the Black Death, there was a village in Germany that Ammergauer. I can't remember how to pronounce it or spell it, but it's a village that prayed to God that their village would be spared of the Black Death, and if they survived, they promised to God. They made a promise to God that they'd commemorate that what happened in a play to give thanks every 100 years. I think it was 100 years. And I had been to Europe in '98 with my mother. My mom and I went and took a trip to Europe, and just so happened that year was the year for the Passion Play, and we didn't know about it. But so that's where the idea of the Passion Play came about. So what's going on with these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and with what's going on with Iran and Syria and parts of Saudi Arabia, I think in Yemen, and here all these things are going on with ISIS and ISIL right now. And I was thinking to myself, I know we need to get out of these wars. Maybe there's a way to do it from the other end. If we had a goal, not only to get out, but to do something so that we could all participate in the world, a passion play. And we have it every 7 years, instead of 100 years, because, our memories are short, right? So, so every 7 years, and it's an odd number, and, you would go along in your life, and then suddenly they'd be advertising for the passion play, the current passion play, this year's passion play, and other countries can get involved. Like Japan could do their cultural apology of war to Korea, and Russia could do to Georgia and Crimea, the Ukraine, and the Baltic states, like during Peter the Great, and also who else? The UK and Spain and Italy and France, and so the passion play isn't just about. The first one will be about this war for us. I know there's also the Vietnam War, but hold on. But it could be for this one just about this war. But in 7 years, it could be other countries saying their apology too. Split screen, we can see what live around the world kind of thing. That'd be really cool. So I was so it's called. Oh, hold on. So 1, 2 passion play. Do it every 7 years. 3 Sounds of Silence. Okay, it's called Sounds of Silence because I heard that thought in my head, sounds of silence, when I was finishing up and finishing up the play. And when I heard that thought, I immediately thought of this movie that was done in the 80s called Amazing Grace and Chuck, about a boy who's like 10 or 12 years old who goes on a field trip to a missile silo somewhere in the Midwest. And he was so upset and concerned about nuclear war, the potential for nuclear war, that he stopped going to school. He did his own protest, and Amazing Grace Smith, I think his name was, they called him Amazing Grace because he did all these 3 shots as a basketball player. So he was interested in meeting the boy, and went and became friends with him, and decided to quit basketball until something was done about these nuclear weapons. And it's an awesome movie, and it's so sad though because he dies in a plane incident. The bookies were so mad at him for not playing basketball and making money off of him that they rigged the plane with bombs so that they killed him. And Chuck, the little boy, was so upset from that happening that he decided not to speak a word from that point on. And other kids in America and Russia did the same thing. They stopped talking to their parents. They just stopped talking, period. It forced the 2 leaders of of world powers, of Russia and the United States, the president, to come up with a plan to de-escalate the situation with the bombs. Gregory Peck played the president of the United States, and such a good movie. So when I heard the thought, sounds of silence, I'm like, oh, that's a good title for the play, Sounds of Silence. Okay, on so many levels, it's a good name for the play. Because we have to look to the future. Children everywhere, peace everywhere. Okay. Right. Okay. So it's in parentheses. I put on the front the title page, cultural apology for war, and it's a play on the words cultural anthropology. And cultural anthropology is a science where you observe another culture, but you do not change it. Okay, you do not change it. And apology, the letters are in that word anthropology. So I thought cultural apology for war. I know it sounds funny, but I think most bills and laws sound funny. Most bills sound funny. Well, I won't go into that. Sorry. So that's why it's called that. That's why maybe we do it every 7 years instead of every 100 years. And so it all came about in 2013. I was watching a lot of C-SPAN, and they had a panel, and it was live on the East Coast, a panel of people from Afghanistan, because one of the things that we did for Afghanistan was we gave them their own satellite, technology, and the Afghanistan Minister of Defense was there, an author was there, a woman representing the women's issues was there, and also the Afghanistan ambassador to France and Canada was there also. And I was listening to my iPod Nano because I was so worried about everything that I was learning. And because this war is so costly, it is so expensive for various reasons. And what we were doing was going back to the villages and cities or towns, these towns that we destroyed, and putting in a water system, piping water pipe system. Either we were repairing it or installing it. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I thought to myself, if what you see in their architecture is so different. It looks like it's been that way for centuries, since the time of Jesus. So, so if these villages or towns did not have a water pipe system and they had to go to the well, I think it was the women probably did that, getting the water for their daily needs. And it was a way for them to talk to each other and support each other. I don't know their culture. I don't know. So, but I thought to myself, maybe that's what's happening. So if you put in a water piping system, what happens to those women? Do they can't talk to each other? They can't support each other? Do they become more isolated? I don't know. So I was listening to my iPod and it was really loud and it sounded like I was echoing, because I was talking also. It sounded like I was echoing in that conference room. And at one point the Minister of Defense said something and then he looked up. And I don't read lips. I don't read lips. I only know a little bit of sign language, the alphabet, and certain words and phrases. So, but he didn't. He didn't. So I don't know what he said. But it seemed real. Yeah. So I was playing all these songs from Miss Saigon, which is a play, a musical about the Vietnam War. And there's 2 songs on it. They're, what is it? If You Want to Die in Bed and The American Dream. And I played those 2 songs over and over again at some point, because I was concerned about Afghanistan and Iraq, because when you have a clash of cultures, when there's a war, there's a clash of cultures, and there is an exchange also. One of the things that happens is food crosses cultures, music, the arts, but you don't want to forget your culture, because what happened in Hawaii when James Cook came to the Pacific, when he was doing his explorations, they accidentally found Hawaii, and the sailors and also the missionaries came later. They did everything they could to. Well, the sailors did everything they could to convince the missionaries to convince the Hawaiians that their system was wrong. The kapu system it's also known as, you guys call it taboo, on the mainland. Taboo is, the original word is kapu, Kapu, and it's not Sharia, but it's not Christian either. This is in the past. We're modernized now, along with the mainland. But I'm talking about the reputation of Hawaii in the past, and the old world view of Hawaii, and grass skirts and wearing grass skirts and grass huts, living in grass huts. It's not like that anymore, but we still have that reputation, that old view, that romantic view of paradise, right? So Sharia, I think, is a very, in my understanding, the way I think of it, is a very strict interpretation of the Quran, and where if you commit adultery, you're stoned to death. Well, we didn't have that. I mean, I'm not Hawaiian, I'm pure Okinawan, but what the Hawaiians had was a kapu system where it was strict also, where women and men could not eat together. They ate separately. Women could not eat certain things like bananas. And I do have a video log on YouTube called "Here Come the Howleys," and it explains it. I did a paper in high school. Um, so when the sailors came and the missionaries came, the Hawaiian culture was doomed. Okay, and according to a quote in the paper I wrote, the research that I did based on this, the author, he wrote um, that culture is a web. To tear one part, or in my opinion, change one part of it, damages the whole. Okay, and I was concerned about Afghanistan losing a part of their culture because every culture in the world has contributed to the story of man, you know, and you don't want to forget that. Okay, so so at least in my opinion, okay, it's important. So yeah, so their architecture is so interesting, right? Stucco buildings, and it looks like time has stood still there. If Muhammad or Jesus were to come back, they would not have culture shock. Everything would look the same. And because culture can influence architecture also. Okay, that's. But the women, I don't know. The women, right? Because if the village, right? I hope I mentioned that about the village and getting water. But there's also another thing that was happening to the women in Al Qaeda, or I think it was Al Qaeda, could have been Taliban, but Al Qaeda maybe it was Al Qaeda, but they were not allowing the women to sew. Okay, making quilts. Now, in the past, whenever there was a conflict and the women wanted to protest or get around the authority to say something if they wanted. One of the things they did was to make quilts. That's in the past. Okay, that's what they've done before, and Al Qaeda was worried that they were going to try and do that too. So they took away all their pamphlets about quilting and all that stuff. They weren't allowed to make quilts. Okay, heard that on BBC Radio 4, the news quiz. Okay, the sixth thing, number 6. So, yeah, where'd it go? Okay, so I was working, so I started making a playlist of songs, and kind of like, I made a playlist of gun control and debate and things like that. So I made a playlist for cultural apology for war, and that's what I called it. And then I heard on the ions, or I heard a thought. There was a thought in my head, and it wasn't mine. The word script, and I thought, okay. So I have a playlist of songs. Make it a script. Make it into a play. I thought, okay. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping time here. So I wrote a script, because I've done a script before in high school, but it was terrible. It's about Peter the Great and Russia. And then but I do know how to draw. I mean, I went to art school for just a year and a half, a really good one on the East Coast. And I studied a year at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in architecture. Then I switched majors again and went into media arts at Kapi'olani Community College. So I kind of knew enough. I thought, okay, I'll storyboard the play with text. Now, I'm not a research analyst. I don't watch C-SPAN religiously, or Al Jazeera, or C-SPAN, or I mean, not C-SPAN, CNN. But I'm getting information from other sources. So my knowledge is general knowledge. Okay. Sorry about that. Uh, so, so I started working on the script and the storyboard with text, and then as I was getting towards the middle of working on it, I heard the thought, Obama, and it was originally it was just gonna be words, the text you could just read, but then when I heard the word Obama, I'm like, okay, he can narrate it. Yeah, he can be on stage, in a spotlight or whatever, and narrate the text. Um, so I went back and I added him in. And then I heard, as I was ending it, I was finishing it up. Um, I heard the word, the thought, the thought. Um, um, where is it? Oh, I heard the thought. Oh no, let me go back. So I was putting Obama in there, and then I was watching. So I was working on it in between other things, and I was watching the baseball, University of Hawaii baseball team, and I was playing the playlist of songs for the Cultural Apology for War, the Passion Play, and on the screen they showed the video screen that they have at Les Murakami Stadium and the dimensions, 20 feet. And I thought, wow, okay, yeah, okay, why not? Why not use Les Murakami Stadium? That's a good idea. Yeah, okay. So I continued working on it, and then I heard the thought. There was a thought in my head: ISIS, ISIL. That wasn't my thought. And I thought to myself, my goodness, I have to include that because I was just doing the beginning of the war up until a certain point with General Petraeus. That's what I was going to end it at. But ISIS and ISIL, that's a whole different, subject. And I thought I could not believe I heard that out. That's so difficult. So I worked it into the play towards the end. And then I was finishing up, and then I heard a thought. I heard the thought. It wasn't a voice, it was a thought. Chuck Hagel, and the former Secretary of Defense. I thought, oh my goodness, his story too? Oh no. So that was really hard, trying to figure out where to place him and what to write about him, the text. So I finished that part up. Then I finished that part up. Thank goodness. And then I heard there was a thought of Bill Clinton, stage manager. I thought, okay, that'd be interesting. I thought he was busy with Haiti, but okay, Bill Clinton, stage manager. All right, okay, fine, yeah, okay. He wants to be stage manager. These are just so funny. So we'd have the event in Hawaii, all right, because here is the Hawaiian culture of the bridge. Maybe it's the bridge between Christianity and Quran, and Muslim. Because it's not either. It's its own kapu system. We'd have to have it. It would be nice to have it in Hawaii, and 16. We could. I mean, we don't have to have an audience. It'd be nice if we could figure out a way to have an audience with the military, the Marines. Army, in the stadium and sitting on the grass, and then other people everyone else in the stands. We don't have to, but I thought maybe we could film it and then edit. So if we could, I guess we could make it a national event, the filming of it. the show of it, showing of it, but not have it live, not yet, because this is like a trial and error um, thing. I'm not sure if the, if this can be done because we're not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because we're having all of these wars and we have drones and we know that surges work. Military surge works in the short term, but not. I don't think it works in the long term. So if we're coming at it from the war point of view, from the war side of advanced retreat and all that other stuff, why can't we also come at it from this angle, the play, to do every 7 years, so that we have no more wars? Maybe that could be a part of the end result. Okay, so let's come at it from both ends. That's what I'm thinking. This is so impossible. Okay, so right, so edited, with or without an audience. I'm not sure. 17. And then while I was writing out and putting in an order and organizing, I had a sense the need for a young person. I sensed Chelsea Clinton. I'm not sure why. I don't know. That wasn't my thought. Chelsea Clinton for the ISIS-ISIL to explain that part. And I thought, oh, that'd be perfect because she's of that age, the generation. So Chelsea Clinton speaking towards the end of in Act 3, towards the end of the program, the play, explaining the ISIS-ISIL portion that I put in, and then if we could show the movie Amazing Grace and Chuck, show that movie on TV, and maybe just in Hawaii or nationally, I'm not sure. That's not up to me. And then a 1-hour documentary about Hawaii to explain that we're not, Christian, and we're not Quran, we're not Kapu anymore. But it's a really good documentary about Hawaii, and it was part of the 2012 50th anniversary of the Hula Festival, the Merry Monarch Hula Festival that we have every year in the Big Island. 27 minutes, I'm sorry. Okay, so we show the documentary of Hawaii, and then we go into the play. Okay? Thank you.